Hello, lovers, fans, casual viewers, and newbies to Nollywood. After what feels like a year, it's your girl Mimi, and as usual, I've got my co-host here. Introduce yourself.
It's Antonia. Tony's here, and I don't think it's been a year. It hasn't been up to a year.
No, it's been literally.
But it's been a while.
It's been a while.
Hi.
So, hi.
Welcome back.
How you doing? Today, last time we talked about Ron's Girls. Woo! That was a spicy one. Got some responses.
Really?
Yes.
Oh dear.
Yes.
Good responses or bad responses?
Do they sound like good responses to you?
Well, responses are responses.
I mean, yeah,
People should go and chop Gary.
People are listening, man. It got a good viewership, and I hope to get more. So, if you're listening, go listen to that. Anyway, today let's talk about the cocoa of the matter. We're talking about, she's asked me not to call them this, suffering porn.
I only say that because if you tag it as that,
It's going to be
there's going to be things coming up that you don't want to say.
Well, basically, suffering movies. Cry movies.
Tragedies, I think,
Oh!
the correct term is.
I guess that's what the name is. I guess that's what you call sad
That
movies.
is what you call sad films.
Tragedies, and nobody does a tragedy like Nollywood. We can, because we are very dramatic as people, we're also dramatic in our sadness. I mean, we know.
Do you know what? She's not wrong. We don't do things in half measures. If the goal is
to make you cry.
it's not even that. If the goal is to suffer somebody,
that
that person will suffer. It's a capital FF. Your mama.
Those people will be like their circumstances.
Emphasis.
Like the God of the universe just says, you particularly.
You in particular.
You in particular.
Have you ever seen that? There's like a meme or like a picture of it's a whole sea, and then there's just one bolt of lightning. This fish in particular.
That's it. And that's it. So join us as we talk about tragedies. And we're back.
Okay.
Sorry about the voices. We both have colds.
I don't have a cold.
In the middle of summer.
Somebody is cooking something downstairs and it's causing a tickle in
the
back of my throat.
Peppers.
Some of us are actually sick. Disgusting.
Help me.
I act this way because this is the way she acts when I'm sick. So
you're always sick. Do
you see what I mean? I'm being bullied.
Please.
As we will now discuss
a tragedy.
So tragedy is defined as a genre of film, books, entertainment that is based on human suffering and mainly the terrible and sorrowful events that befall a main character. So obviously a main character isn't always just a one person, it can be a group of people. And traditionally the intention of tragedy is to invoke an accompanying catharsis or a pain that awakens pleasure for the audience. So essentially there is usually a solution at the end. So I think we discussed this in it might have been in the romance episode, where you have sad films, but most sad films will have some sort of resolution.
Yes. All sad films have a resolution. We do not like...
Nobody likes to just cry for no reason.
No, what I mean is that we do not like unhappy endings in Nollywood.
Do they have them?
Well,
I mean, there's some that ends in God we trust, but...
Well...
In God we do trust, amen.
But on the other hand, we don't do sad endings. We do sad films.
Yes.
As we are going to discuss.
And we do justice.
Yes. But we do not do just... That's it. It ends on a sad note. Because life is sad enough. Come on now. And, everyone talks about all the noted sad films in Hollywood. Titanic. You have Titanic. You have Miracle in Cell Number 9. Everyone cried. I haven't watched that because I don't like to cry. Come on.
The Green Mile. That's a sad film.
The Green Mile is so sad.
The Pianist. Boy in Strap. Any sort of
Nazi
genocide type films.
Yes.
Or war films in general sort of tragedy.
But enough of Hollywood. This is a Nollywood podcast. And so what does tragedy mean when we're talking about Nollywood?
I think it can mean different things. It depends on the type of movie that you're watching, and it depends on the characters that are in the film. What they've decided to do with that film.
But the commonality is somebody will cry. There will be long, drawn-out scenes of someone crying. Someone
my God,
weeping.
Just there, just reflecting, just. At least, so if you say you have like no Nollywood film is an hour long. Let's be honest with ourselves, but that's a quantifiable amount.
But I think to be a tragedy
out of every hour of that film,
30 minutes.
Okay. 20 minutes.
Just there'll be long scenes of
it will just be someone sat just crying. Or people in a group sat just crying. Imagine usually you've gone out, you've come back from somewhere, and you've come to see a group of people wailing in your house. Ah, Papa has died. 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Just, oh my God, old Nollywood. Man, Jesus. They used to ask a lot of their actors. It'll just be like, I'm going to point this camera at you. You're going to cry. For how long?
You're not going to cry.
You're going to cry.
You're going to wail. You're going to No. You're going to lament.
Yes. There will be lamentations. But, how do you know you're watching a Nollywood sad film, TM? There will be a lot of crying. And usually women cried. Oh, no. But then you have the men proud cry. Oh, nobody can see me. But a sort of silent cry. As he gazes up to the heaven and then shakes his head. Obviously, his hands are crossed. Yes. He's leaning against something. Yes, you cannot, as a man, you cannot wail standing by yourself. You know, be supported by something. Shake your head.
Like, oh, it's a pity. Oh, and it's hardly ever the men that are affected by the tragedy that are doing that. They're usually like neighbors or uncles that have caused the tragedy.
Yes,
that are just in the corner, like, oh, how could this happen? How could this my
No, that's fake crying. This is real crying. Real crying is when something bad has happened. You're just thinking,
and they're just...
Oh, when they're stinking, for a man is thinking, oh, there'll be this really long scene of him going from one...
Soliloquizing.
How could I? Blah, 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 blah.
Oh, that's true, yes. And, that he might be speaking, or it's just in the background. You're hearing his thoughts.
His thoughts. And then he's moving from one posture of crying or lamentation to the other. And maybe some sounds.
Maybe he'll stand up. Oh, have you ever cried at a Nollywood film?
So many times.
Oh.
So many times. I'm sorry if I'm more in touch with my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
If I can feel the emotions of the actors.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. No, I agree with you. Okay. I'm not disputing that. Is it a good thing?
It's not my fault you're sociopath.
When was the last time I cried at a film?
Oh, I cry often at films. I cry, especially if it's in a different language. Bollywood films, another dramatic species. We are dramatic and they are dramatic too. We are bonded together in drama. Or like Hollywood film. Oh, less is more. No. No, said Nollywood and Bollywood. No. But... as I said,
it's very recognizable.
It's very recognizable.
If you're watching a suffering porn film, because it kicks off very quickly.
Yes, immediately. Or there'll just be the only happy scenes you see that are not at the end is when they're remembering happy scenes.
Oh yes.
And that's to make you cry.
That's actually sad too.
You know, the goal is to make you cry, and they did it well. I don't know if they still do it well, but they did it well. Now let's talk about the common plots. The common plots, the common tropes, they are kind of the same because, you know, it's the same thing with different combinations. How do you make a sandwich? This in bread. That's it. The bread is the film. And the ingredient, I'm very hungry. And the ingredients is...
I'm just watching her speak,
sandwich.
and she's getting there. She doesn't know lots, but she's got the spirit. As
we said earlier on, it's mostly women. Mostly women that cry more. Because obviously in society, women are allowed to express their emotions a bit more. Apart from, say, like, some certain actors, not a lot of actors know how to cry. But actresses will do one of these films in their career where they will cry.
Some of them, it's their whole career.
Yeah, everyone knows them for that.
Who we're talking about.
But
we love you, girl. But
number one, we have orphanhood. Someone must be orphaned.
Orphanhood?
What would you call it?
I don't know. I wouldn't say orphanhood.
Someone
orphaning. No, that's
someone
actually
must be
unacceptable.
Someone they must lose their parents. It doesn't matter if it is modern, if it is traditional, if it's an epic. By the way, when I say tragedy films, these are a class of their own. They don't, sometimes there might be a bit romance, there's definitely juju involved, there are different dishes, but these are known as tragedy films. We're talking about a very specific set of films that only Nollywood makes.
They don't actually, sometimes they don't fall into another category, so you can get
just
tragedy films.
Yes.
So if I think to myself something like Blood Sisters, there is no romance in that film.
No,
it's
because
just all hell.
Because it's Tony Mills, and who's going to be romanced? What I mean is that if he's there, it's not for a romance, you know? Something's going to happen. I think it is from that film that he got his
love potion specialist.
Was
he charmed in that film?
No, he was just charmed by stupidity. Love you, Tony Mills. Someone must lose their parents. Number two, that can lead to one, they being cast out of their home by wicked brothers.
Probably because
so it's either, so if the person loses their mother, there's a stepmother, and then that stepmother is gonna show them why.
I think that we do wicked stepmothers very well in Nollywood.
Yes. Oh god, the wicked.
We do wicked stepmothers very well.
Oh yes, that will not feed the child.
I think we do wicked women very well.
Yes, that's something.
So wicked. I think wicked men is pretty. It's pretty generic, like you'll expect it. But wicked women in Nollywood
come in different varieties. As I said,
no,
the wicked stepmother. Mystery, and especially it's usually a younger child, which is what makes it so sad, because you see this wicked woman mistreating
this small child that probably doesn't know how to act either. So they're just there and they're like, you're not mistreating a character, you're mistreating that small boy. He's just there on set.
Genevieve in Blood Sisters. Genevieve in Blood Sisters. Wow, that was a wicked stepmother. But usually it's Patience Uzoko as a wicked stepmother. You know what? All wicked women archetypes have been played by Patience Uzoko at some point. So if the mom dies, it's a new wicked stepmother. If the dad dies, the mom doesn't have to die. But definitely there are wicked brothers, there are wicked uncles that are going to cast them out from the house and be like, what did you do? This is my brother's property.
My brother's house.
And to be honest, it does reflect what happens in a particular part of Nigeria. And you would think that these wicked uncles will see themselves and be like, am I the villain?
Am I the problem? Is it me?
No, but it's still...
Yes, it is.
It still continues to proliferate up to... Oh, that's a big word. It still continues to proliferate. I don't even think
so. You said it again.
I don't even think that's the right word, man. It continues up till today. Okay.
No, but then we did say as how like art imitates life. So this is what happens in
real life.
In real life,
because obviously in Nigeria we have no social support system. So if your parents die, you either go and live with a relative, or you go to the motherless baby's home, very rarely.
Very, very rarely.
Or you're left on the streets, which is a completely different type of tragedy that we are going to come to. But yes, when you're kicked out by your late father's brothers, you must of course be on the streets.
Yeah, completely.
As if the woman doesn't have a home to return to.
No, but then think at that point, her parents might have passed away.
Didn't they have a house?
Maybe she has older brothers.
You know what? Everybody's just wicked to them. Moving on. Another common trope is the life on the streets. There was this film where Genevieve had run mad and she had children because her husband, who was probably Tony Mills, I don't know, it wasn't, had fallen in love or been charmed by someone.
Probably Tony
and
Mills.
Then kicked out. She was kicked out with her children. She was mad. Her children were with her. You know, it was very sad. But life on the streets is very hard.
So and I think another film that does the same thing or does something similar. I think it's Conspiracy. So with Oyeka Owenu, and she has twins.
Oh my god,
she's mad. And then
Oh,
The
I
sound.
remember that film.
We're gonna discuss music in a minute, but
This-
that's a sad film.
You and I believe as one. No.
I think like as we were researching this and looking these things up, and
we found the soundtrack.
I found the song, and I found and I'm like, oh my god, what?
Just immediate flashbacks.
There's like a tingle in like the back, like the bottom of your spine. Like, this isn't right. Something is wrong here. And I think we used it as like they use it often as like a wedding song. Why would you do that?
Because it's romantic.
It's not.
Anyway, we have, life on the streets where another thing might happen. Sorry, trigger warning: sexual assault. That's another basis.
I think that happens a lot in these kind of films as well, especially when the main character is
female.
like a young woman.
Yes, because art imitates life.
Art imitates life. Where the young woman goes to live with an uncle because her parents have died. She goes like, oh, you can be a house help for this person. They can be a house help for this person. Maybe they're related, maybe they're not. But you always get one.
There's always
easy man.
Basically, in these films, if it's a female main character, there is always the threat of
sexual assault.
Sexual
But then
assault. But then that never happens, though.
TM. No,
but
not
it
TM.
never happens. There's always the threat, but it never happens because, of course, we need to keep our female protagonists pure.
No, it's happened.
Well, in all the cry for help ones, it never happens. She's just threatened with it. But yeah, you're right. It could happen.
It does.
And then that's another feather on
her suffering cap.
On a suffering cap. Does she get pregnant from it?
Sometimes.
Yes.
And then where does she end up?
On the streets.
Oh! It's a full circle, guys.
And then hunger is always one.
Hunger occurs a lot.
Yeah.
I remember this one, I think it was Annabelle that I was watching. And this woman was like, oh, we're going to have dinner. She brings out this one bread, like lucky bread, and shares 2 slices of bread between her and like her 4 children. And then...
It's not funny.
Not funny. And then she offers the 1 slice of bread, like a whole slice of bread, Marianne, to Annabelle. And they're like, oh God. And then she offers it to her. And then Annabelle's like, oh no, it's okay. I don't need it. I'm not hungry. She's like, oh, thanks. More for us tomorrow. Jesus.
So sad. God, the writers, the directors, they were maestros at creating sadness. But okay, let's say you manage to escape the streets. You get married. What's waiting for you? Boom! Battered woman.
Oh,
your husband
God.
is the worst. He beats you, he insults you, he carries other women, he does all sorts of unthinkable things, domestic abuse, domestic battery. That's another type of suffering. You'll just be watching the girl. Maybe at the beginning she starts off, oh, happy she missed this man, and then through a series of circumstances, either he's jazzed, maybe his mother has decided to come back to the country, and so whether the guy managed to hide it perfectly before the wedding, but whatever, now you have married him and he's a demon.
He's a devil. In fact, the devil self is looking a bit
The
side
devil's like,
eye.
you're doing a bit too much
Side
there.
eye.
But yes, there's the battered woman stories where the entire film is just her suffering from her husband.
Either her, she might have children, she might not have children. The problem might be
She doesn't have children. Barrenness is a different one. Barrenness is a different one than being mistreated. But barrenness often causes you to be mistreated. And of course, there's so many times she'll be cooking in the kitchen, she'll stop. I remember her barrenness. I remember what somebody said to her about her not having children. Then
it's not funny.
It really isn't.
But
If the
Jesus.
man doesn't beat you, abuse you, let's say you manage to find a loving spouse, his mother doesn't love you.
His mother is in
Again,
fact,
assistant devil.
what is that woman? Karishika, that's who she is.
No, the mother is an assistant to the devil. The devil is like, wow, these are some great ideas they are implementing here. Usually played by Patience Isoko.
If one day goes by that woman does not remind you that you should have born her child's children.
You should have gotten a boy child.
A boy
That's another
child.
one.
If one day goes by, that means either that woman is sick or she has died.
But again, I think it again reflects society where women are not valued when they don't give birth to children or they don't give birth to the right children. You ever see someone being abused? Oh, you have not given birth to a girl child for my son.
That's true.
Because who cares about the girl child? That's a beautiful biography name of the book there. Who cares about the girl child? You know the whole system. Oh, you don't give birth, or if you give birth, you don't give birth right. Or if the one has been abused, there are no support systems. There's no. She has
no friends. She has no family.
She just has no one to rely on. Or she might have people to rely on, but she's hiding it from them. I think it does say something about society, and it does say something specifically about Nigerian society, because who doesn't know someone who's going through that?
That's true.
And
sometimes there's not a lot you can do.
Exactly.
So even if you do know, you've advised them a few times, but then because of the way either single women are treated or the way like divorced women are treated, you'd rather stay in a marriage that you're being beaten every day than to be. I saw a video once, and it was this it was like this think group of young men and young women were talking to older women and older men.
Oh,
and
I
then
know that clip.
One of the women is like, yes, so my husband beats me is because he loves me. It's because he has beaten you so much.
Sorry, it's not funny.
Your head is no longer correct.
He's giving you a traumatic brain injury. Sorry, that's not funny.
Because make it make sense. Because if a stranger did that to you, you'll react.
But then goes back to society. These
like,
people,
divorce is a taboo. Divorce is a sin.
But that's what they're saying, that people would rather stay in a relationship for the fear of what other people will say and what our society will say. Oh, a divorced woman, a single mother, and things like that. So
that in itself, that can lead to your suffering.
It's being a single mother.
No, if you leave your husband.
Yeah, but in these films, they always go back to their abusive husbands. Even if they manage to... I hate in the early 10s, they had this series of films where the husband will be so bad.
He will not repent.
Yes, will be so bad to the wife. And then the wife will meet somebody who is better. But in the end, the husband will come back to church. I'm sorry, forgive me.
I'm sorry.
And then this idiot...
It was the devil. The devil is standing in the corner like...
And at the end, she goes back to the husband, and to God be the glory, everything is fine. So if you grow up indoctrinated by those ideas, that makes a society that's not welcome to divorced women or single women or single mothers. So I guess that these are real things.
Yeah. And
we see the inherent sadness in it. But in the conclusion of these battered women stories, these battered women tragedy stories, what happens at the end isn't that she leaves her husband. Either the husband dies in some lucky cases, or the husband repents. Nowadays, we don't see those stories so much because I think we have not. But Nollywood has evolved past the people, and so you won't find these stories anymore. Poverty, just generally, not living on the streets. Poverty, you can't feed, you can't afford rent, so you end up on the streets, and then that's a completely different story. Or you have a wicked wife, and your wife is like, oh, look at your mates. Your mates are doing this. Your mates are that. I will always remember the film I watched where these men were in poverty. They said they should come and sacrifice somebody important to them. And this man was happy to sacrifice his wife because the wife kept nagging him, telling him, oh, look at your mates. Look at your mates. They are all rich. Why are you so poor? And he said, you know what? I'm going to sacrifice her. So there's that kind of tragedy and suffering.
I don't think that should count towards tragedy and suffering.
No.
If in the end of it you're like, yeah, no, I could kill her to get out of this. But I mean that would link in with like our juju and jazz.
Sometimes juju and jazz is what causes the tragedy. Yeah. But then let's talk about circumstances versus wickedness. So you have when the circumstances, for example, living on the streets versus actual human wickedness. If somebody goes to do jazz to steal your to steal your destiny, or to get your husband/father to look at them, or to kill somebody for land. So sometimes the tragedy can be caused by circumstances, just the general tragedies of life, compared to someone's actual wickedness of a stepmother, wickedness of a mother-in-law. But I do think that all of these stories, all of these tropes, they tend to reflect the reality of a lot of Nigerians, which is why they are so popular. Like, we talk about new Nollywood, old Nollywood, but if you go to YouTube, where we have admitted that some can be new Nollywood, can be old Nollywood, can be whatever it wants to be, some weird amalgamation of both, all these stories still reign. That we have new up and coming cry queens. You know how they have scream queens? We got cry queens. Up and coming actresses that are making their brand cry. But let's move on from common tropes. Except you have something else to add?
I mean, we've discussed the I guess the family side of it, and then if we can also touch on the stranger side of it.
Stranger danger.
No, it's not even just stranger danger. It's like we've spoken before, I think, about like house helps.
Oh yes, person that suffers in a lot of these movies.
That either the house help is mistreating the children and you don't know, or this couple of, usually, like I say, we do wicked women very, very, very well. Now this woman has taken it upon herself to just mistreat someone else's child.
And you know, it happens so often. You know, there's that stereotype about an Igbo man taking the house help, that they always mistreat their house helps. Yes, it's on social media a lot. But I think that it's a whole length and breadth of women. That is a reality that we do see, that in a country where service jobs, for example, being a maid, where poorer people do it.
And it's not like restricted.
It's not age. Yes, by age or by agency or anything. Yes, they do. There is a lot of abusing your domestic staff. You know, you go on social media now and you see some horrible things that, to be honest, somebody would write in a script to think, no, that's too much. But in real life, people are doing it. You know, certain girls, usually girls, but sometimes young boys too, on fire, you know, scalping them, just doing some horrible things. So I think, again, all these tragedy stories are, as I guess, a form of catharsis. Because when you see all these things happening, some are happening even to you, some are happening to people around you, you want a happy ending. And all these films have in common a happy ending.
You want to see someone getting out of the situation that they're in, and they almost, like I said, they almost always will.
Yes. Okay.
By hook or by crook.
Well, if it's by crook, then it's not a tragedy film. Another trope is our hero, our protagonist, the person that goes through all of this. Could be one, could be singular, could be multiple, maybe like two children or something. And they must be peerless. They must be innocent, loving. They must just have all good qualities, no bad qualities. If it's a girl, she must be the epitome of what Nigerian womanhood should be. If it's a boy, he'll be kind to a fault, generous to a fault, you know, generally allow people to walk over them and, you know, take advantage of them. And it's because of that inherent goodness. Inherent innocence, inherent goodness, that you're even sadder. Because you will not be thinking, how can they do this to somebody so kind? That's what makes
They did nothing wrong.
They did absolutely nothing wrong. And that's another thing they used to make us cry. Things that they used to make us cry. Humans, circumstances, wickedness, but also kindness. Because the
like if they have like, like the worst ones, I think, are the ones where you think they've gotten away from it. Like, this person is really nice to them and they're buying them food and they're like looking after them. Like,
so your things are looking up.
Yes, you can come to my, of course you can come to my house, like, I'll buy you food, I'll buy this for you. And then they are actually Lucifer in disguise.
Yes.
I think
that is them. Actually, that's them farming your tears, looking after it, and then at the perfect moment harvesting your tears.
That was actually a really very weird metaphor to use then. I was not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that at all.
But
like that,
they use these tropes to make us cry, suffering. Another thing we need to talk about is some tragedies can be romance.
Explain.
Follow me on this journey. A boy and a girl meet. They fall in love. I don't know why I said it like that.
Neither do I.
They fall in love. And then something or a whole hold of something keeps dragging over the film, keeps driving them apart. we have, as we said, 90% tears. The boy and the girl. If the boy is young, he can cry. Actually, it's only grown men that don't cry. But if the boy is young, he too can cry. Otherwise, it's only the girl crying as she's being mistreated. Maybe she's of a different caste. It's a caste problem.
Okay.
Maybe she is poor.
They're always poor.
Maybe
you never see rich people sad. You never see rich people sad, Marianne.
What do they have to be sad about? I mean, obviously, realistically, we know that the human experience occurs at the length and breadth of the social and economic system. But no, what's there for them to be sad about?
That has pissed me off. Imagine me, I'm crying, hungry, and someone's like, my stock crashed on the stock market. All I have is 2 million. I'll slap you.
Oh, my Lexus Benz is not the color I wanted. That's why I can't stand DJ Copy. So, she's poor. She has an illness. Famously, does anyone remember that film? When Mr. Johnson had asthma.
What?
And they treated it as if she had flipping AIDS.
What?
Mercy Johnson versus Benedict Johnson. And it was like, oh, what's wrong with her? Oh, she has asthma. Holding the asthma pump wrong. Oh, Nollywood, you do. But she has an illness, or her father or there was this, the father did something to one of the parents of the boy or the girl.
Oh, yes. Of course.
So
it's like a Romeo and Juliet type situation.
That's it, exactly. Romeo and Juliet types. Except our Romeo and Juliet doesn't end in sadness.
They don't kill themselves. We don't do that.
No.
We don't do that here.
No, although sometimes they try.
We don't do that.
Dorothy, my love.
She didn't try and kill herself. She was just ill. That wasn't her fault.
But what I'm saying,
he might have tried to kill himself though. Because
exactly.
She was dying. You know what? You might be right.
But
William Chamber, explain yourself.
The couple goes through downs and downs and downs and downs, and usually in the romance there's ups and downs, but in a tragedy romance there's just all downs. Things just go from bad to worse, and then
they might be suffering together.
Sometimes they suffer together, but I do think that we should class some romance as tragedies. Agree? Disagree?
Oh no, I mean it's what we were saying, that there's romance in all Nollywood films.
There's romance in all Nollywood films,
including tragedy.
Tragedy romance, man, it's a big thing that we do. Tragedy, in fact,
tragedy films.
Yeah, tragedy is in everything.
Tragedy.
But as we said, it just won't be a sad thing that happens. It will be a series of sad things.
True. From
worse to worse, from frying pan to fire, to even the fires of hell. I don't know.
The fires of hell.
Our heroes must go through a series.
They must go through it.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be for you, they're going through it.
What do you think is your soft spot when it comes to tragedy? What would get those? Okay, if you're not crying, at least what would get those eyes a bit moist?
I don't know, because I'm not my husband would disagree, but I'm not a crier. I think I cry at things that you wouldn't necessarily expect. Like, obviously I cry at characters dying and things like that, but
yeah,
I can't think of a Nollywood film that would make me cry.
Well, obviously in a Nollywood film the main character is not dying, because then what else is happening? What's the point? But something might happen to the main character's family. Oh, there's this absolutely devastating film I watched with Clarion Chukura and Bobby Manuel, where Clarion Chukura was married to Bobby Manuel. Make that make sense? Where they are cast onto the streets. She has a daughter, and then the daughter is sexually assaulted, and then the daughter, from that, I think the daughter gets a disease. From that, the daughter dies.
Jesus.
And I'm like, what?
They did nothing wrong.
So it came from the abuse of Patience Uzokwo to her being on the streets, suffering the usual street things, hunger, people wanting to kidnap you, things like that. And then the daughter suffering this. The daughter was lovely as well. Then the daughter dying.
Let me just say this here. If you, as a person, are okay with being the other woman that a mother-in-law has brought in for a man whose wife does not have children, I hope you don't have children soon.
Oh, Jesus. Nakoso.
I said it. Because why are you okay with that?
Because
you cannot find your own man.
Because you have been blinded by the patriarchy and you think you have to be a good girl. Basically, she's a pick me, Sha.
And then you nasty be wicked on top. Oh.
That's why they say
win in life. Don't win and then be wicked with it.
That's why they say second wives are the worst, because it takes a certain kind of person to chase after a second wife. To chase after a married man. Yeah. The third wife, she knows what she's coming into.
Usually a bit more chill.
Yeah, she knows what she's entering. So what would you say is the particular thing that will get your eyes watering or that will make you a bit sad?
I'm sure probably like cry for help, maybe cry at one point. Or Annabelle. I think Annabelle.
Just so soft.
No. I think it's children.
Yeah, me
like
too.
Small children. Small, like I think it's small children because in my what I mentioned before is in my head. These are kids.
They're innocent.
Like they most of the time they don't know what's going on. And you can be like, you can see sometimes if they're not like trained, you can see the confusion in their faces. What is happening? Why are you
so mean to me?
What is actually
and
occurring?
The meanness that happens to these kids, man. My god!
It's and I think
it's abuse.
Nollywood, Hollywood people know that children are a soft spot for a lot of people.
Yes.
So if their goal is to make you cry, or if their goal is for this to be a tragedy film, the things that child will go through.
Oh my god, guys! Guardian angel, little angel, come on, man. Why? But I think for me, yeah, definitely children. And I think when someone is struggling, and this is the one that gets me, when they are doing their utmost to rise beyond their circumstances, and then something happens that brings them crashing down again. Obviously, when an important character dies too. Remember, we were talking about the woman king, and yeah. And you just knew, I was like, no spoilers, but I just knew that one particular character.
No, the movie came out 2 years ago.
Yes, but it's not.
No!
How will people see?
Don't excuse these people that expect you to cater to them and their lack. The movie came out, so that's like saying, oh, don't spoil Titanic. Piss off. Go and watch the film. Anyway, sorry, I got really hot about that.
I can see.
No, but when I knew, you knew from the start that she was going to die,
because she was clearly marked for death.
But but then when she did die, I actually cried in the cinema. I won't lie.
Yeah, see, so they can still make you cry. Join us next episode where we'll be talking about the famous films and the famous actors. Yes, we'll be talking about our cry queens and cry kings. Thank you. Say goodbye. All right, get over it and say goodbye. Say goodbye. Say goodbye. Goodbye.